Psychological roadblocks refer to the internal, often unconscious mechanisms in our psyches that act as barriers to following through. Among these mechanisms are 1. Laziness and lack of discipline, 2. Fear of judgment, rejection, and failure, 3. Perfectionism out of insecurity, and 4. Lack of self-awareness. These psychological roadblocks operate internally to inhibit external action, thus preventing us from following through. Laziness and lack of discipline. The reason we don't follow through can sometimes be as simple as being too lazy and lacking the discipline to do so. Our laziness hinders us from getting off the couch and working on the important tasks that will get us closer to our goals. Our lack of discipline sees us squandering our time to distractions and temptations. We may get our calendars planned out, our to-do lists ready, and everything else we need prepared, but somehow we lack the willpower and discipline within us to just start, just do, and just keep pushing. We see the sacrifice, however small, we would have to make, and we decide that it's not worth it. Willpower is the energy that activates our bodies, while discipline is the focus that directs that energy so that we're constantly moving toward our goals. If we don't find a way to turn our willpower and discipline on, our bodies would simply continue to be in their inactive state, never following through. Fear of judgment, rejection, and failure. Imagine Laura, a volunteer for a local organization helping provide education for less fortunate children. She has an idea for a fundraising campaign that will bring in more sponsors. She plans what she needs to do and researches who she needs to talk to in order to make things happen. But before she even makes the first call to get the ball rolling, her breath catches. She hesitates and thinks, what if I organize this campaign but nobody signs up for it? What if our community leaders back my idea, but it winds up being a flop? What if we'd end up spending more money than we actually gain? So she drops the idea entirely and immediately starts breathing easier. What stopped Laura from following through was her fear of judgment, rejection, and failure. To her, not following through was an act of self-preservation, a way to save herself from the pain of failure. Since she never asked for anything, she never got rejected. Since she never went after a goal, no one could say she failed at it. Fear of judgment, rejection, and failure thus paralyzes us from following through. We think that by abstaining from action, we cancel out the possibility of producing any output that might be subject to evaluation or judgment. And if we can't be evaluated or judged, we also can't be rejected. If we don't try to go for things, especially things that challenge us, then we can't fail. However, these are ruinous distortions in reasoning. By not acting and not following through, we have already judged and rejected ourselves even before we've started. We have already failed the moment we decided not to try. Perfectionism out of insecurity. Paul has been planning to apply for promotion for several years now. He has been putting in the effort to upgrade his professional knowledge and skills, attending seminars, taking certification exams, and enrolling in postgraduate classes. He wants his resume to be perfect so that when he does apply for promotion, he can be sure he'll get it. For Paul, it was either perfection or nothing. Several more years passed, and he still never applied for a higher position. His credentials didn't feel good enough to him, and it never did. His perfectionism, born out of his fear and insecurity that he wasn't good enough, was what prevented Paul from following through. Instead of taking action that will move him forward, he focused his energy on overplanning and striving for perfection, ultimately leading to stagnation. To the outside world, it may have seemed that Paul was a busy bee working toward his goals, but in reality, he was internally inhibited by his perfectionism from truly following through. Lack of self-awareness. Finally, lack of self-awareness could also be a psychological barrier against following through. Because we're so often afraid of making mistakes and venturing past our comfort zones, we never get to learn the fullest extent of what we can do. Thus, many of our interests, passions, and talents remain hidden to us forever. And not knowing our true capacities, we remain convinced that we will never make it, even if we tried. So we don't follow through on our plans and, in so doing, trap ourselves in a lifetime of stagnation. What's more, we don't even realize we've fallen into the trap of stagnation because we also lack the self-awareness that we're not following through. We continue living our busy lives, content with the idea that we can't possibly be working harder than we already are. But if we strip our lives with the little bits and bobs we busy ourselves with and take a long, hard look at the big picture, we then realize that we've been avoiding following through on things that really matter. So there you have it, the list of reasons why we don't follow through. We start with excitement and enthusiasm, but end up with excuses and explanations. We start with anticipation, but end up with alibis. And all too often, we don't bother looking past what's in front of us because what's in front of us is easy and convenient. A part of us doesn't want to know what's possible beyond that because we're afraid to want it and to have to do the hard work that will get us there. But take courage for a moment, and for the sake of your personal growth and happiness, consider how your life would be different if you made following through a habit. What if we do follow through? Following through is the more difficult path, but the benefits it can yield make the journey worth the struggle. If you develop the habit of following through, you'll be able to increase your productivity, maximize every opportunity, and realize your fullest potentials. Your academic and career goals will be real guideposts in your life instead of just being pipe dreams and ending up as frustrations. Being a person who follows through will also improve your relationships. You'll find that as you consistently keep your promises, you'll gain and retain the trust of your supervisors, your colleagues, and your staff. More importantly, you'll be building better relationships with your spouse, your children, and your friends. They know they can trust your word because they've seen you act on your plans and deliver on your promises. What's more, following through will help you build a better relationship with yourself. Following through forces you to be in touch with your own wants, needs, capacities, and fears more intimately, so you get to take charge of your own life instead of being just a slave to your unconscious fears and society's pressures on you. In summary, following through is the powerful combination of focus, self-discipline, action, and persistence. It's the force that drives you toward higher professional achievements, better relationships, and greater personal satisfaction. However, both tactics-based and psychologically based roadblocks can often hinder you from consistently following through on your dreams and goals. You may have the passion and motivation to do something at first, but the fire within you is likely to die down somewhere along the way. To reignite it, you must first understand what's holding you back, then equip yourself with the right tactics and psychological tools to help you follow through on the things you start. Recall the story of Esther told at the beginning of this chapter. She took a leave in the hopes of getting to start on her own business, but she failed to follow through because she was tempted to indulge in pleasurable distractions and was taken by her fear of rejection and failure. Instead of using the time she had to set realistic goals and follow through on building the life of her dreams, she ended up returning to a life she didn't enjoy living. Imagine if Esther was aware of the barriers that were keeping her from following through. Suppose she responded by using the right tactics and psychological tools to counter such barriers and eventually succeeded in running a home-based bakery business. Every day, she'd be waking up excited to get to work with something she's passionate about. She'd get to spend every day near her son and watch him grow. She'd be living the life she had only dreamed of. Take a moment to consider the story of your own life. Are you following through on what you really want in your life? Or are you constantly falling victim to the tactics and psychological barriers that hinder you from doing so?